Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Randy.
And I'm Kara.
And this is Wax Episodic. What episode is it?
Oh,
it's number 1.
Oh.
Just say.
In this episode, we're covering the 1979 Ridley Scott classic Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, and Ian Holm.
They had Tom Skerritt first in the
Before
credits. It's like,
Sigourney?
that is ridiculous at this point.
Come on.
Back then, maybe he was a bigger actor, but we all know who the star is.
Tom Hootie?
So, hello, you've stumbled upon the Wax Episodic podcast where we love to talk in depth about great TV series. And we're starting with Alien Earth, which premieres on FX in August. So we thought, why not revisit the original movie that inspired the series? If you want to know a little bit more about who we are and what this podcast is going to be all about and stuff like that, then we just did a quick introductory episode. It's one back in your feed. Check that out and you can learn about it. But right now we're just going to be focused on Alien and Alien Earth. So, Randy, would you like to read the plot summary for Alien?
Sure. A commercial space towing vessel called the Nostromo is hauling cargo back to Earth with a crew of 7 in stasis, until the ship's AI, Mother, wakes them early to check out a mysterious signal from a nearby moon. Following company orders, they land, damaging the ship in the process, and discover a derelict alien craft and a massive fossilized creature with a hole in its chest. Creepy. But it gets worse. Kane, one of the crew, finds a chamber full of eggs. One hatches and latches onto his face. They bring him back aboard against Ripley's strict quarantine protocol thanks to the science officer Ash, and soon the facehugger dies and Kane seems fine. Until dinner. That's when an alien violently bursts from his chest and disappears into the ship. What follows is a tense and deadly game of cat and mouse as the crew is hunted down one by one by the now grown xenomorph. Ripley eventually uncovers that Ash is actually an android, and the company's real mission is to bring the alien back, crew expendable. Ash calls the alien a perfect organism. He's not wrong. In the end, Ripley is the last one standing. She blows up the Nostromo, escapes with the ship's Cat Jones, and has one last encounter with the creature before blasting it into space. Ripley survives, barely, and drifts off in stasis, hoping to finally get home. Oh, that's how it ends.
But it doesn't happen, does it? We won't talk about that. I like that the plot summary said it was a game of cat and mouse, because then it made me wonder if that was part of the point of including a cat, because a cat is a predator usually.
Yep.
I like that.
And
that
seems
cat added a lot. Yeah. Like the fact that she was looking for it at the end. I already liked Ripley, but that made me love her even more.
Is that a thing? I feel like people say like, oh, would they go back for the cat? And that's like a way to define if a character is like a morally good character. Yeah.
He does get a little rough with the container that the cat is
she
in.
Does.
So
she throws him a little bit.
But I mean, at least he survives. At least he's fine.
5 cats that they went through.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding. No cats were harmed, as far as I know. I had it down here that we would talk a little bit about our history with the Alien franchise. We kind of did that in the intro, but what I didn't say is it was one of the first movies I ever saw. I was at the drive-in. It came out in 79. I was 8 years old. Scared the shit out of me. Jaws was the first movie I saw, so you can tell what kind of parents I had. But I remember in the car, because every time we'd go to a movie, I'd be like, is it going to be scary? And I remember the face hugger lurching out of that egg pod at John Hurt more than the chest burst scene for some reason. Yeah. Maybe because I had my eyes closed after that, by that point. But
that's fair.
It scared the shit out of me. But I like the movies. I've seen them all. And, I watched it again as an older person and loved it. And I remember even liking Alien 3, which a lot of people don't like. And
Hmm.
that's David Fincher's first movie he ever
Yep.
directed, which is really interesting.
Wow.
I enjoy the rest all to one degree or another. I mean, I hate to be negative, but I don't really dig the Aliens versus Predator movies that much.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Maybe I'll
I'm
revisit. I don't know.
Yeah, I find them like a good Hollywood
entertaining.
Yeah.
blockbuster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They're, what's that director's name? He did all the Resident Evil movies too.
Oh
Wes,
gosh.
not Anderson.
Yeah. Somebody Anderson.
Is it Wes Anderson? Yeah.
No,
No.
that'd be way different.
Can you imagine
That would be
Resident
cool.
Evil?
You
All of
guys
the
ever
aliens
see those
right in
YouTube
the middle.
videos? It's like Wes Anderson's
Yes.
version of X-Men, and they're
Oh
all
Yep.
my
in these.
God.
It's so funny. You check
Dear
that
the
out.
aliens, please stop killing us.
Yeah, exactly. But my other favorites are, besides the first two, are the most recent two, Alien Covenant and Alien Romulus. I like both of those a lot. And I like the themes of like corporate callousness and everything with the
Mhm.
androids is really fascinating, and just the idea of the dangers of messing around with something you don't understand and living
Yeah.
to regret it or not living to regret it. But and the beauty of the design is so good too, especially, I mean, all of it, but there's a lot of things that are both gross and beautiful at the same time,
Hmm.
which is
Yes.
pretty
Very
cool.
very
Mhm.
sexually charged imagery in
Yeah,
this
that
movie.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like slimy things and
Yep.
things that
There's
are
yeah, we'll get into
All
it.
sorts. Yep.
And
pulsing. Um,
for the people who are yelling at their headphones right now, Paul W.S. Anderson. It was
thank
Yeah.
you.
Ann
Yeah.
Anderson.
We've already gotten several emails about it, but that's
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Clearly.
So did you guys want to say anything else about Alien, like
I
the
mean,
series, before we get into the original movie?
I guess a little background. So I saw it when I was young at first, and I shouldn't have seen it when I did. Kind of
How
like
old?
I was 7.
Mm,
And I made one of my older
that's
cousins
young.
watch it. And then I had nightmares, I think, for a couple weeks.
Hmm.
And I don't think I watched it again until I was in high school. And then I loved it. And it's kind of in one of our English classes, we were going over H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm,
And my teacher was obsessed and kind of referenced how if you liked the themes in Lovecraft's work, then you should really go back and watch the Alien movies, especially the first one with kind of that lens. And
yep.
I was sucked
Hmm.
in at that point. I was like, all right, sold. I will say, for the longest time, the chest burster scene, I completely forgot or blocked out that I watched this when I was little, and then I watched Spaceballs, and
Yeah.
I thought the Spaceball scene was the original
Oh no.
Oh,
of it. And so watching it again, I was like, oh, this is
Yep.
why everybody looks at me like I'm crazy.
when I see this, I've seen Alien, 10 times or something, and I always
Mhm.
think of Spaceballs when it comes to that part.
Yes.
And I think of hello, my
Hello.
honey, baby, hello, my honey, hello, my
They did
ragtime
such a
gal.
good job. Yeah, they made it memorable.
So good.
Yeah. But I can't now. It's like kind of funny, and it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be.
No.
Mhm. That's true.
I'm expecting him
Yeah,
to
I
pull
think
on his little top hat.
oh, the first one is probably my favorite.
Mm,
Then the second one, and I agree. I think Covenant and Romulus I enjoyed as well, but the first one is my favorite by far.
Hmm.
okay.
For me, like the first two are kind of like Terminator and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
The first one is
That makes
more
sense.
horrific and solitary and suspenseful, and the second one is blown up big action movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
The heroine
I've gone
becomes
back and
much
forth.
stronger.
What?
And the heroine in the
Yeah, that's
first
true.
becomes a badass in the second.
But she's
Yeah,
pretty much a badass in the first one, but yeah,
She
even
is,
more
yeah.
so in the second. Yeah,
it's true.
and Terminator and Terminator 2 are a little closer in my estimation, but I think I might still choose the first one. But with Alien, I definitely pick the first one. But I know, I bet you
Mhm.
Aliens has more fans. I don't know that
Mhm.
for a fact, but for some reason, I
But
think.
I feel
I
like
could
we
see
have
it.
a spread here because I like the first one. I like Aliens the best. That's my
Cool.
favorite.
Nice.
Um, I really liked Romulus. I wasn't as crazy about Prometheus and Covenant. And
Yeah.
I will say, soft spot for Alien Resurrection. I don't know why.
Hmm.
Just hit me at the right age. Um, and I don't mind the first Alien versus Predator, just because it was finally like this buildup of like, we're throwing these two together. You've wanted it, and what we
That's true.
got was something, and
If
I
you'd
wanted
said,
something.
the Alien versus Predator ones are actually my favorites, I might have to reevaluate
Right.
things. No, I'm just
Yeah.
That's
Alien
really
versus
rude.
Predator
Yeah.
Requiem is the greatest movie ever made.
So, what about? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we all love this movie. We don't really need to
Mhm.
belabor that anymore. Let's just start talking about it. What do you guys want to talk about first?
Well,
Hmm.
I think the thing that really pulls me into this movie is the mystery and to a degree sort of like the world building. As I was saying, like I love how much how this keeps evolving. But I love the fact that there are like open-ended mysteries in this. They don't answer every single question.
Hmm.
And I feel like with a lot of movies nowadays, like you've got to have a reason for everything. And I
Yeah.
feel like the way I would almost describe watching a movie like this is you're in like a cart, like on a roller coaster, and you're going, and every so often you like look down a hallway and you're like, wait, what was that?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
with a lot of movies now, they're like, well, we're going to go down that hallway and then we're going down this hallway and we have to go through every
Hmm.
single one.
Yeah.
And with this, like, especially the the derelict ship that they find with the space jockey in it, I think that is actually the thing about this movie that hooked me the most. Like the alien's great, but it's the fact that they enter the ship and they're just like, there's this giant other alien creature
So
essentially.
mysterious.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
they're not, they also don't seem too shocked by that. So it's like, well,
Mm-mm.
what is this universe they live
Yeah.
in that like that
Because
doesn't surprise them?
yeah, like they said it's in their contract when they get a communication that sounds like it could be alien that they need to investigate or something like
Yep.
that, right? So that
Hmm.
sounds like they know there are aliens of some type or another.
Hmm.
But this is a new one to them. They have never encountered these. It's called, like, fans call it the space jockey, and we come
Hmm.
to know them later as the engineers, right? This one that's,
Yeah.
and it looks like a chest burster has broken through its chest, right?
Yep.
Or the xenomorphs, which also wasn't named in this movie, by the way. I think the second
Hmm.
movie is the first time
Hmm.
the alien's called the xenomorph. But anyway, I agree with you. I see, like, sometimes mystery bothers me. I think it's, well, Lost is a big one where I love
Yeah.
so many things about Lost, but I feel like they deliberately strung us along with these mysteries and they
Hmm.
made it feel like it was central to what
Yeah.
you were going to
Yes.
need to be satisfied with the story, and then either gave unsatisfying answers or didn't answer things. So that just felt like a bait and switch or something. But for something like this, where it's just like shit happened and the crew wouldn't know why. So we don't
Right.
know why.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's not really the point. It's like that's
And that's, yeah, they're not trying to solve the mystery of what
yeah.
is this
The
thing.
point
Hmm.
is that we don't know and it's scary not to know. Even the
Right.
word
Hmm.
alien. Alien means from somewhere else and you don't really know it that well. And the
Hmm.
way that
Yeah.
they show right from the beginning the title sequence, which has come to be iconic, where they just reveal little lines and then it
Hmm.
resolves into the alien. It's kind of like that is a great setup for the whole movie because we're sort of seeing something, but we're not sure what it is, and it's slowly being revealed at a very deliberate pace with eerie music in the background.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all
Yep.
great. But
Just keeps
what I
adding.
think happened
Hmm.
is, and this all gets spelled out in later movies, by the way. And I guess we can talk about it. Like, we might spoil some
Yeah.
things from the later movies. Hopefully you've seen them. We won't belabor it too much, but I do want to bring up the point, and I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper later, that Noah Hawley has said for Alien Earth that it's mostly going to be about the first two movies, and
Hmm.
that some things happen in the later movies that he's going to ignore because he wants and if I won't spell that out right now in case you don't want to be spoiled, but I'll talk about it later and I'll warn you. But anyway, just that's, I guess, enough to say that for now, We don't know like when Alien was made. It's a mystery who this
Mhm.
creature is, right? So my
Yeah.
speculation is that they were carrying the alien eggs potentially as weapons, and
Hmm.
it got out of hand, and they had to crash land on this planet, and they were being attacked, and they sent out this warning beacon. If Ripley was right that it really was a warning, telling people don't come here, it's bad news. That's it.
Hmm.
Like
Mhm.
that's what I think happened. Or they landed on the planet and found the aliens there and took them on
Started
board. Or
collecting them or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yes.
the other mysterious thing is the like blue foggy light that's
Oh
inside the
yeah.
ship, which um oh, I'm forgetting the character's name, but the one who ends up inside the ship, he says like, "Oh, it's reacting to me, like it knows." So there's something intelligent there, and it's not until he falls through that the eggs start to open. So it
Ugh.
almost seems like it was like a protective layer that they had set up within the ship to like
Yeah.
restrain that for a little bit. So it does feel like the space jockeys were trying to prevent something, but like it's not spelled out. And I love that we can still what how many years later, like almost 40 years later, still be
I know.
speculating and like
Hmm.
guessing what actually happened there. And that for me just is what makes me keep coming back to a movie. And
Hmm.
especially with this, the very first time you would have seen this, I don't know if you would have been aware of the chest burster. So you just see this thing and its ribs are broken out and you don't realize it. So the
Hmm.
second
Nope.
time you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, that's what happened to him. And oh, and yeah. So yeah, I just
Ugh.
love that being baked
That's
in.
that's how I almost always experience things like that, where I just barely notice it, and then it could be the second time, could be the 10th time. I'm like, oh, or somebody told me, oh, but
Yep.
I know a lot of people would watch it the very first time and say, he's got a big hole in his chest. And then when the chest burst scene happens, go, okay, that's why,
That's
Yep.
you know?
why. I'm
Yeah.
not one of those people. I
No.
need I need a couple of watches. There's still I watched it again last night and there were still a couple of things where I was like, I don't know if I remember noticing that before.
That's
Hmm.
cool.
Like, which
Definitely.
is excellent because I think I've seen it, I don't know, it may be about 10 or 15 times now,
Hmm.
but being able to notice new things and the fact that it still holds up so well is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hmm.
Like it
It's
just,
always
and it
good.
kind of reminds me of Star Wars in that sense. And I love, we don't get a concrete timeline when the movie opens up. We're just dropped right in.
Hmm.
And that adds to, like you were saying, the whole mystery to it. It's just, oh, it's brilliant.
The
Yeah.
There's a way that it's perceived differently now. I don't think this would count as saying it doesn't hold up. It actually, I think, makes it more charming. But back when it was made, it was futuristic, and now it's kind of retro
Yes.
futuristic, right?
Yeah.
Because there's things
Yeah.
that seem primitive by our technology. The whole mother AI
Yeah.
Hmm.
seems primitive compared to ChatGPT. The screens suck and the
Yeah.
Yep.
keyboards look like they came right out of the 70s. And I love it, right? And Noah Hawley loves that too, by the way. And also
It's
said
cool.
something about how the later movies, which were supposed to take place, 50 years later or something, the technology is just crazy with holograms and things. But
Hmm.
he wants to
Hmm.
use this retro futuristic stuff, which makes sense because in like Legion, he did a lot of that
Yeah. Yep.
70s
Yeah.
vibe, so
I like that.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Well, but the aesthetic is also one of the most appealing things. And
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's nostalgia, but it feels so gritty and realistic.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I hope the new series feels that way too.
Yeah.
Like,
Practical,
I
right?
like the 70s style. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yep.
fun. It also reminds me of the Hatch on Lost, that
Yes.
similar kind of retro futuristic feel.
Yep.
But it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I think, yeah, as I've gotten older, more and more, I've appreciated the aesthetic of this show more and more. The alien always
Hmm.
looked cool, but now just the ship itself
Yeah.
and the symmetry of
It's
things and the
true.
lines, the detail in the lines of everything, and it just
And
looks really, really
Mhm.
very detailed and well and beautiful, you know, in
Yeah,
this
very lived
industrial
in.
kind of way. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. The way you would assume like a large company who's sending a ship out into space isn't going to spend a lot of money on like making it look nice. It's just going to be
Yeah.
like a cargo ship, which is just like,
Yep. It's
here's the essentials
functioning.
that you need. Yep, and you get out
But
there. There's going to be exposed pipes and
it
Mhm.
true, but in a beautiful way though,
yes.
because you could have a really ugly version of that was
Yeah.
just bare or the lighting sucked or you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Yeah.
And they had a production designer. Let me see if I can. Who was in charge of most of that of the ship? Hold on. Creators. Um, shoot, I can't find his name, but he did most of the production design, and then of course H.R. Geiger designed the
hmm
alien, and any self-respecting alien fan knows his name. And Geiger also designed the alien ship, which was also
So
beautiful.
cool.
It
Yeah,
looked
so
It's
kind of
good.
almost gothic.
technological but organic. Yeah, dark
Yeah,
and gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool and
I
all the same color and everything.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think the biotechnology, this is like the first place I ever kind of got the introduction to that. And I feel like it's
mhm.
big in like tattoos and things like
Hmm.
that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, with the ship design, like you were saying, how it's so detailed. But one of the things I really like is that by changing the lighting, so early on, it does feel like within the Nostromo, it's kind of bright. There's white walls. Um,
Mhm.
it's like a little gritty, but it is kind of nice. But then later, when it gets
Warm.
dark, all of the walls start to look kind of like the alien. So there, those bumps and things that were in the wall now with dark shadows start to
Mhm.
mimic the way the alien looks. So like it could all of a sudden be anywhere. And just by the
Hmm.
Creepy.
light changing, yeah, so good.
And the way you're talking about it being lived in, and
Mhm.
uh, I think Star Wars might have been the first sci-fi movie where they really made it that way. Everything used to
hmm
be shiny and tinfoily and lasers and things, and George Lucas was like, "No, they're in a war. It should look well
Right.
used, you know,
Yep.
and scuffed up and everything." And not only that, but Star Wars just took itself so seriously, played it straight
Mhm.
and grounded,
hmm
and sci-fi for the most part before that was campy, right? And so then there were movies that followed in that vein, and Alien was one of the first ones. I mean, Star Wars came out in 1977. I think that's why Alien is a movie, because people were like,
Yeah.
look at that,
Yeah.
let's do stuff like that. And it's not exactly like that, but kind of, you know, you can see where it took its cues from Star Wars, the kinds of things I'm talking about, more grounded, taking itself seriously, being more
Mhm.
lived in. And then Blade Runner, which Ridley Scott also directed, has
hmm
that to such a great
It's
effect.
true.
Yep. Yep. Long overhead shots of spaceships going past you. That was a
Hmm.
big deal in the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah. And then in Spaceballs, it's like five
Very.
times as long.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
good.
so good.
What else? Well, I want to talk
Let's
about the social political commentary. How,
which I was like, there's so much.
well, specifically about how the bad guy in the movie is really the company, not the
Mm,
alien. And
yeah.
Ripley, you know, you find out that the crew's expendable and that the whole mission is to pick up this life form sample. And Ripley speculates that the company wanted it for weapons, the weapons division, which could mean a few different things. But since it's a company, they're probably just going to develop weapons and sell them using whatever they
hmm
can glean from this alien.
That's another one of the mysteries
It
in this is
is,
like,
yeah.
what are they gonna
Yeah.
do and how do they already know about it too?
Hmm.
Yes. How do they know? Uh, and yeah, how do they know? That's it. Yeah,
hmm
like how did they know when to send them, where to send them, and maybe
Yep.
did somebody pick up this beacon and they wanted to send some expendable people down to check it out, or what?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
there's this documentary from 2003 called The Corporation. You guys ever heard of this?
No.
Mm-mm.
It makes the argument that if a modern corporation was a person, based on how it legally behaves, it would meet the clinical definition of a psychopath. So
Yep. Okay.
it shows how
That sounds
corporations,
fair.
by design, prioritize profit over anything else, safety, ethics, even human life, and they're incapable of guilt or empathy. And that just lines right up with this movie. It's the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. It's only called the company, but I guess you can see the name on the
Yeah,
packaging.
it's on a couple
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're willing to sacrifice the entire crew to get this life form. And Crew Expendable is not just a plot twist, it's a commentary and a critique on corporate ruthlessness, dehumanization, the willingness to sacrifice lives in pursuit of power. And I like that Ash, who's not actually human, is the representation of the corporation, because when they
Mhm.
do ever act human, it's usually only a simulation, they pretend
Yep.
to
Yeah.
apologize
It's
for
pretty
things or whatever.
fitting.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I just love all that. And also how
yeah.
the crew they come off very working class. They're complaining about their food and their camaraderie and their warmth with each other and everything. And I think, they're on a mining, a mission to collect ore that's been mined. So that's sort of another unanswered question, but we presume that they were at some mining operation or colony on a moon or another
Yep.
planet or an asteroid or something, and they picked up 20 million tons of ore or something like that. And so they're basically space truckers.
Right. Yeah.
I like it.
And it's great because, like, you just imagine waking up with your coworkers and then going through this. Like, there
Oh,
is
God.
also that bit of like,
Right.
they
That's
are just
true.
coworkers, so maybe they'll
Yeah.
turn on each other. Like, they're
Yeah.
not a family, but they kind of get
Yes.
Yeah.
along. So
And
it
the
really, like,
movie
creates
really
a
nails
tension.
that coworker vibe too,
Yep.
where everybody's kind of annoying, but you're doing your best to get along. You don't
Mhm.
really fit together that well.
You know something's gonna happen. Like,
No offense to anyone I've ever worked with.
yeah. Gosh, I am blanking on everybody's name today. Nope, it's coming to me. Lambert.
Mm.
Yeah.
When they're
Veronica
discussing,
Cartwright.
I
Oh,
think
Lambert.
going out, or like, I think he's trying to say like, oh, somebody's gonna have to go out and like investigate or something. I feel like she's looking over a couple of times, like she's like, I've heard this before. You're gonna
Yeah.
suggest it's me. And then he says you, and it says you're coming with, and she's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I know. I'm the only one you ever pick for this.
It is
What
kind
a-
of nice that it feels like we are dropped into their dynamic. I
Yeah.
like that it doesn't over-explain and there's not too much background. You just have to
Yes.
play
Yep.
catch up and figure it out.
Yeah, I always like that because it feels real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Feels like you're with real people.
I think that's one of the reasons why Alien in general, especially the first one, draws me in so much is, and it might sound kind of funny, but I really like that it's realistic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's the same reason why I love, especially the first two seasons of The Walking Dead, because it feels like exactly what would happen to everyday people if there were to be some sort of apocalyptic state.
Mhm.
This is the same thing. I love how gritty and natural it feels. It's why I love, disaster movies like Dante's Peak or
Mhm.
Deep Impact more so than like 2012 or
Mhm.
Mhm.
Greenland, something that's more extreme. I love when it feels real. It helps me kind of immerse myself in it more, which may not be great for my anxiety, but
As in,
it helps me
feel-
appreciate the movie more.
Mhm.
yeah, I like grounded, right? That's why
Yes, that's a good word.
Karate Kid is one of my favorite movies and my favorite of the 80s. Like there was
Mhm.
Better Off Dead, which is awesome, and a whole bunch of teen movies, but that one
Mhm.
felt more grounded. And
Mhm.
so I feel more like connected to it because it just feels like real people. But
Makes
I
sense.
like far out movies too, like Scott Pilgrim, that's like the
Yep.
opposite of that.
That's
And it's
such
great
a fun
too.
movie.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's fun to play with the idea of just changing one element. So in this, it
Yeah.
is just like, well,
Yeah.
normal life, futuristic, but normal life. And also there's this crazy ass alien in the ship.
Yes. Yeah, because that's where
True.
when you have a story and you're trying to show how real people would react to something unreal.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
then you want to make them feel real, right? And
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, exactly. That's what Walking Dead does at its best, in my opinion, too. And that
Yeah.
I didn't think about it for Alien, but yes, same thing.
Mhm.
Mhm. And then in
Uh,
Aliens, if I remember right,
yeah.
and we're going to be watching that again soon, it's a bit more heightened.
Yeah,
Game
they're a little
over,
more.
man,
Yes.
game over. But I love that. I love Bill
Yeah.
Paxton, you know?
Have you ever
Bill
been
Paxton
mistaken
is
for a man?
fantastic.
Yes.
God.
What else,
Uh,
Randy?
well, just hopping on some of what you were saying about the company and just like the profit over. One of the things I found interesting this watch is that in the beginning, Ripley kind of comes across as the company follower. She doesn't want to let the other people back into the
Mhm.
ship. She's like, we have a protocol to follow, and they're like, they'll die. And she's like, we have to follow this. This is the company's rules. And then it's actually Ash who breaks that rule. So initially it comes across as though he's maybe the good guy or like he's willing to go against the company, but
Mhm.
he's actually also following the company's protocols and what they want in that moment by breaking the other one. And I just thought it was interesting that they sort of flip and eventually he's the one who's following
Yeah.
it and it's to the detriment of
Mhm.
everyone.
And then when you go back and you see everything he does is
Yep.
just pushing them to getting and keeping this
Yes.
creature. But
Yep.
it was interesting what you just said about it seems like he's the good guy because I think the scene you're talking about is after Kane, right? Is he the one that
Yes.
got the face hugger?
Mhm.
And they
Yep.
want to bring him back into the ship, and Ripley says, "No, you got to follow the quarantine protocols." And Ash is like arguing. Well, it's after they brought him on, but arguing why it was a good thing because you want to be
Hmm.
compassionate, basically. And probably as a kid, I would have thought, "Oh, that's a good guy," but as an adult, I'm like, "Fuck that."
Oh yeah,
I
nowadays.
know.
Like after
Yeah.
COVID too, it's
After
like
COVID, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
no. It's like
like you guys are fucking idiots. And in fact, I don't even know if that's believable, honestly, that the captain
yeah,
would
No.
be arguing to bring this guy with an organism stuck to him in the
right?
ship. No, and she says if you break quarantine, we could all die, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and they
Luckily,
would have
karma
listened to
works in
her.
this universe because she's the only one that gets to stay alive, plus the
That's
innocent
true.
cat, you know.
Yep.
Oh man.
God,
But
yeah.
another cool thing about the Alien movies is there are moments where you're just like, wow, this person is being really fucking stupid right now.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
there's, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking, right? Poking at a pod or sticking your face right down in it.
Right?
And then
As soon
the
as
Are
it
you
opens.
like
doing?
Prometheus, I didn't love at all. But they're even stupider in that
And
movie,
they're
if I remember right.
scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But it
sad.
very much goes
It's
along with this moment of this
Yep.
movie.
Yeah.
It's
There are
almost
like,
funny. It's horror movie trope. People do dumb
yes.
things.
it's true.
And I do feel like sometimes you go against your better instincts. Like I'll say, whenever I do video and photography as a profession, whenever I have a camera in my hand, I lose all sense of self. I'm just invincible. So I've like run towards things and then
Oh
start
gosh.
taking pictures, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like something
Mm.
about that. So I could see if you're in that ship and you're the one who's like sort of going ahead of everybody, you might get like a little bit of like, nah, I'm invincible. I'm gonna
Like,
keep
That's
looking.
true.
a
Yeah,
new
I'm
alien
gonna
life
find the cool
form.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just so curious. Curiosity killed the
Yep.
cat.
But it's so funny to watch because we're like terrified, and
I
Yeah.
it
know. It's
was
like,
great
don't do
timing
it.
because like as they're going into this alien ship, and I always love when people are going into a dangerous situation in a movie. It's basically like a haunted house, right? You're going into a
Yeah.
Mhm.
place you shouldn't be, and as that's happening, back on the regular ship, Ripley's decoding the message that says, "Oh, that beacon was actually a warning."
Oh
It's
yeah.
great timing.
Yep.
Good.
It's really fun.
Oops.
What else, Kara? Do you have any other
And
things you want to get
let's see.
into?
It's like not related to the company, but one thing we've kind of already touched on it a bit. But one of my main points that kept coming up over and over again when I was rewatching was obviously how well I think everything holds up, but
Mhm.
also how visceral and tactile the
Mm.
effects in this movie are. And I know that's not, unintentional. I think if you look at any of the behind the scenes information that can be found on the film, Ridley Scott and everybody behind it thought, you know, extensively about what the aliens would look like, what the insides would look like. And
Yeah.
I pulled a couple of my favorite kind of facts about the practical effects just to go over, and Ridley Scott's techniques as a director that really overall added to the film. One of my favorites is how, obviously we know it's primarily using a handheld camera, and that really adds to the claustrophobia. But the fact
Yeah.
that Ridley Scott had the walls moved in a little each time they shot,
Oh.
so the actors would feel that claustrophobic effect. I was like, that's freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
And the actor that was in the xenomorph suit, he intentionally, Ridley Scott made sure that he did not have like tea breaks, coffee breaks, or lunch breaks with the rest of the cast, so they would, their fear of him would be more visceral and realistic and genuine. And it's just fascinating the extent that they went. And I know I've heard some mixed opinions about some of Ridley Scott's techniques with directing,
Yeah.
but it really got some excellent performances out of everyone. And the fact
Mhm.
that, they're using, I think the slime they said on the xenomorph was KY jelly,
Mhm.
Yep.
and like they used pig intestines and marbles and shredded condoms, like all sorts of stuff
Wow.
to achieve the effects. And it's still mind-blowing to me watching it now how much of a reaction I have, especially with that face hugger
Mhm.
when they're sitting
Yeah.
there, like
Poking
poking and
at
prodding
it.
and
It's like,
dissecting
how
it.
did they
Yeah.
make that? Do you know
It's
how they made that?
so
Was that the
It
they're
pig
was
intestine?
mhm.
Ugh.
and
Oysters.
oysters.
Oh my
Yep.
Yeah.
God. It's an aphrodisiac.
It's yeah, yep. Works like a charm. It's
I didn't
terrifying.
know it was KY jelly, but the interesting thing about the slime on the alien is it just looks so clean, and clear
Yeah.
Mhm.
compared to some other things that are grosser. It's
It
actually
does.
just kind of cool looking, and
Mhm.
especially
Yeah.
because the alien has such this long, I don't know, forehead or carapace or whatever you want to call it, that's all smooth, and then the slime makes it
Oh,
look kind of shiny,
Yep.
and it's horrific and maybe kind of gross, but it's also gorgeous, I think.
Yeah.
it's
Also
true.
gives
But
the
that
sense that like maybe
oh.
you shouldn't touch it because like
Mhm.
what's that slime? Is that also acidic? Like, ugh.
Also, it might kill you if you go near it.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll
It's
see.
true.
In this new series, that might be a
It'll
friendly
just be
xenomorph.
cuddly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's just so creepy. And it's true. That's a good point of how it looks both horrifying and beautiful
Mhm. There's
at
one
the
right
same
behind you, by the
time.
way.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah. This little guy. But like I don't know, but I was eating last night when I watched it, which was a terrible idea. I don't know why I did that. But it adds so much when you like want to look away, but you also can't.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
just 1979, and I'm still having these visceral reactions to, the body horror and the creatures. It's pretty fantastic that
Well,
stands up.
another thing about the way this movie's done, and it kind of plays into what we've been saying about mystery, and I don't know if we've been saying this, but minimalism, and
Mhm.
like a lot of it you just see glimpses. And
Yep.
then even when
Mhm.
somebody's about to be killed or the face hugger jumps on the dude, you just
Oh,
see a second and then you cut away. They cut
Hmm.
away and they leave the rest to your imagination. And so you feel like you're seeing all these horrific events, but you're just seeing flashes of
mhm.
things.
Yep.
And
And you're assigning what's happening in
yeah,
your mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I did a little when I was cutting together some stuff for a promo for this, just like looking for clips of the alien, they are only there for like 2 seconds.
Hmm.
So to get anything, it's just like this
Crazy.
little snippet, but it feels like the alien is in this movie the whole time. And
Mm.
it's not actually on camera that much.
Yep.
That's the presence of the alien is almost more of a character than the alien
Yeah.
itself.
Hmm.
You feel it like you know, I don't think it's a coincidence that slasher movies were starting to get popular. You think
Hmm.
of Halloween and you think of, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out right before this. And this is basically a slasher film for the most part. They're being hunted. Some of them are making stupid decisions. And it's just, like the alien is isolating them and picking them off one by one.
Mhm.
And it's cold and stealthy and cunning. And there's no front door for them to run out of.
Right.
One of
Just
the scenes that creeped me out the most was when, I mean, she blows up the ship successfully, escapes on the shuttle.
yep.
That's one scene that really did not hold up. That explosion, it just looks
Sorry.
horrible.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
is that?
there's a couple of
Yeah.
their like blue screeny things that aren't
Yeah,
great, but all
but
the other stuff's awesome.
yeah. So then she's on the shuttle and she gets strips down to her underwear, which you could say is gratuitous, but I think it's a combination of gratuity and, is that the right way to use that word? Anyway, gratuitousness, and
Mhm.
also it's about her being vulnerable, which
Hmm.
is what
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver says too. She's like, no, I think, I'm okay with it because it's about her being vulnerable, but I recognize that there is also that element of this was made for the male gaze in there. And she
Yep.
says, I have noticed that people ask me about the underwear more than anything else or something. It seems like they talk
Jeez.
about the underwear more than
Well,
the alien. But anyway, I didn't really mean to talk about that. What I just meant was the part that creeps me out is that scene in the shuttle and looks over and sees the alien just hanging out in the
yeah.
Yep.
little cubby, and
Yep.
it feels like
Terrifying.
could be real in the way that the alien is like a wild animal, and maybe right now it just feels like hanging out, or I don't know. What did you guys make of
Yeah.
that? Why it wasn't just
That's one of
attacking
the
her?
I was wondering if it was hibernating, like
Hmm.
starting to like settle in for something, or if it didn't notice her and it's like trying to like set up an attack basically,
Yeah,
or if it was sleeping, because it kind of
or
seemed
it's
like,
just like, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah, yeah.
You
Or it's full, or yeah, I'm
yeah,
not
full,
sure.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
What do you
very
what do you think,
mysterious.
Kara?
I think I think I'm colored. My opinion of this is a little colored because I remember, I don't know if it was a director's commentary or something with Ridley Scott, where I remember him talking about how, you see the alien's color change throughout the movie. Like at
Mm,
first, when we see it, it's kind of translucent and grayish, and then it gets darker and darker and darker. And he had indicated that that is kind of showing the dying process for the alien. And
hmm,
with that, I kind of see it as okay, the alien was trying to find essentially a peaceful place to either die or hide
hmm,
because he doesn't attack her immediately, he doesn't chase her. It's just when she kind of realizes it's there
hmm.
that it comes
Do
to
you
life.
think it
So
was
I just
dying? It was
assumed,
hurt.
I assume that is how I watch it now.
Mhm.
After
Hmm.
hearing that commentary and watching the color changes, last night was the first time I really paid attention to it. And I was just like, oh. And so when you see it more as, I mean, almost cornered animal at that point,
Yeah.
it's taken a lot of hits. Like that's how I view it once it is off in the escape pod with her, is
Mm.
hmm.
essentially,
So
it's
at
you or
that
me.
point, what we're saying is Ripley's the bad guy, and
Yep.
she should
She
have
becomes
just
the
taken this
monster.
because
Yeah,
when I don't actually think that, but when
obviously.
she sends this, like, I guess heated
Yeah, she
steam
like
or whatever,
goads it out
and
Yeah,
basically.
then
Like,
that's where I
yeah.
kind of felt a little sorry for it because it's making this pathetic whiny noise.
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't like that.
Yeah. And then, but she's a fucking badass. That's another thing that
Yeah.
should absolutely be said about this movie. At this point, I
Hmm.
think it was fairly rare for women to be heroes like this. And that was
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, very
And
much
she
so.
figured out how to beat it with the steam vent and the harpoon gun, and then she turned on the
She's so
engine to blast
smart.
it out.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and I think the treatment of Ripley, like she's one of my favorite female characters of all time.
Yep.
And I think the treatment of her throughout the entire movie and the fact that, she's smart and rational and logical, she's not really hypersexualized at any point. So at the end, honestly, like at first when she stripped down to her underwear, I was like, come on. And then I was like, if I was surrounded by coworkers all day and I had been running through a spaceship trying to, avoid this alien creature, I would want to take my pants off as soon as I was alone too. Like I would want to get comfortable. So like, that's fine. And I like the aspect, like you said, Jason, of that showing her vulnerability. Because
yeah.
how much more vulnerable can you
Hmm.
feel? Like she's just stripped down to, it's her grit against this creature. So
Yeah.
I don't really fault them for that. But I loved Ripley in general and how this movie basically subverts, horror tropes like the notion of the impregnation trope and how
Hmm.
before this, we saw it a lot with women.
Hmm.
Rosemary's Baby was one of the first ones that popped into my head. And I loved that, in this one, it's a guy. And
Yep.
that does a lot mentally
Hmm.
for the audience. I feel like I think it was a brilliant move
Yeah.
on their part.
Hmm.
I want to bring it back just a moment to Ripley in her underwear. Just for a moment. I think there is also, I'm going to say practical in quotes reason, and it's I think she's about to get into one of the cryopods, and when the
Yeah.
That would
movie
make sense.
starts, that's what they're all wearing because she takes her necklace off too.
Yeah.
I think it's some practical
I
reasoning.
mean, you can come up with very valid reasons, but as a writer, you can also just not have her do that,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
for
Yeah.
sure.
And
Yeah.
but
It's like,
so
come
watching
on.
it today, I was ready to really judge it. And when I got to it, I thought, no, I think it really adds something to the scene because of that vulnerability. And then when I
Hmm.
read
Mhm.
up on it and heard her talking about it and saying the same thing, but yes, there is also that gratuitous male gaze thing that's a part of it, but not the totality of it. And I would rather, I know it's going to seem like, oh, yeah, I bet you would. You're a male, but I would rather have it be this way than not. I think it really
Hmm.
adds something to the feel of that
Yeah.
scene that adds to the movie. And it kind of, I think about the first rebooted Star Trek movie. Was it the first one or the second one, Into
Yes.
Darkness,
Yeah, I think
where
it's
maybe it's the
yep.
second one where she just one of the crew, the really cute girl, just ends up in her underwear in one scene, and it's
Oh
Very
ridiculous. It's
yeah.
like,
similar.
what the
Yeah.
fuck is
That's
that?
that's actually what came
It's
to
like
mind when I was
there's
watching this.
no plot reason
Yep.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
it's
Well, and
Well,
ridiculous.
I
something
mean,
I
I think
heard, I think it was by a comedian that kind of undercut some of the sexuality of this part. And somebody said they were in the theater watching this, and everybody kind of gasped at that. And somebody in the back yelled out, "It's the same pair of underwear she's been wearing all day."
oh my God.
Running from an alien that's slimy
That's
and
funny.
yeah.
Yeah. Not a good time. Well, and
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
there's a lot of, we talked kind of at the beginning that there's sexual imagery in this
Yes.
movie, both visually and metaphorically. There's a lot of, there's some sexual assault imagery. I guess you can
Hmm.
put a trigger warning for discussion of that, but it it makes sense. Like it's relevant in terms of that lens too.
Hmm.
And it's one of my favorite things about Ripley being the sole survivor and the horror trope that I feel like kind of got started with Jamie Lee Curtis's character in Halloween is that final girl. And
Mhm.
Ripley gets to be, a final girl and she's level-headed, she's strong, she's smart. I think I wanted to be her for Halloween like 3 years in a row.
Yep.
I just I think she's a very compelling character. And I know they talked about how it was between her and maybe Meryl Streep
Yeah,
Yep.
and a couple
Helen
other
Mirren.
actresses. That's right.
Hmm.
And I think Sigourney Weaver is a very beautiful woman, but I think there's almost a little bit of androgyny to her appearance as well
Hmm.
that worked better for me than if I pictured, Meryl Streep at that time or
Hmm.
Helen Mirren at that time.
Which one of
And
the behind the scenes things they said is that none of the characters were written with a gender in mind, so
Mhm.
anybody could basically be slotted into any of these slots. And I think
But
I
I
even
would
heard a
Sorry, I would have
uh,
just subbed
yeah.
in Helen Mirren for the underwear scene, though. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Maybe there's just like a scene where a lot of
Just a
people are getting in their
flash.
underwear
Yeah,
for
I think it would have
just
added
yeah.
something.
It's like on the TV in the background.
It's the end credits scene.
Yeah.
If you stick around. Oh
I want to talk
gosh.
about the magnificence of the alien
Yes.
not just the look of it, but how especially Ash is so impressed with what it
Hmm.
is as a creature. First, I think he's talking about the face hugger. He says it has an outer layer of protein polysaccharides, and then it sheds
Oh,
its cells and replaces them with polarized silicone, which gives it a prolonged resistance to adverse environmental conditions, which is, quote, an interesting combination of elements making him a tough little son of a bitch. And then later he says, you still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Well, this is when it's just his head talking, I think. The perfect organism, its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. They're like, you admire it. He goes, I admire its purity, a survivor unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality, which sounds just like what I was saying a corporation is, right?
Yep.
So
yeah.
and Ash is a representation of the corporation, like a
Hmm.
personification of it. So it's like one, like, like sees like, I
Yep.
recognize you. But
Also, he's a head on a table at that moment, so I feel like he'd be like, "Yeah, I admire anything with a full body at this point."
Yeah.
but I think Alien Earth, the series, is going to be about how it's this perfectly evolved organism
Hmm.
and maybe like man's
Mhm.
arrogance and messing with it or something along those lines. I think that's going to be one of the
Yeah, thinking
themes.
you can control it too, and
Yeah,
yeah,
right. I
Yeah.
that's
guess.
yeah. I feel
I,
like that's always a running theme in these stories. Some of the
yeah.
like
Yeah.
comics and stuff is like, "Hey, we can just throw these onto another country and it'll attack them," and it's like you can't control this. What
Yeah.
happens after that?
Like I loved when it bled acid and it started seeping through the ship
Hmm.
because that's the direct impact of messing with something you think you can control and it's surprising
Hmm.
Hmm.
you. And it was just a really cool addition to
Yeah,
the
it
That
means you
was
can't sh
smart.
yeah,
yeah.
you can't just shoot it. You
Yeah,
have to figure out a way
exactly.
to like outsmart it.
So and I was reading that HR Geiger designed it to be as disturbing and biomechanically alien as possible, blending sexual, insectoid, and skeletal features. The inner jaw, the like inner teeth or
Hmm.
pharyngeal jaw, was inspired by certain real life creatures, especially the moray eel, which has a second jaw that shoots forward to pull prey deeper in its throat. I was kind of wondering if that was based on anything real.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just think it's
It's so
interesting to
creepy.
think of this like
Yeah.
lethally evolved creature.
Yeah. Yeah. The like kind of playing or continuing on like the sexual undertones and the alien itself. I think the fact that they did use like condoms and KY jelly to like create it,
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah,
even in the meta version of
hilarious.
it, they're still
Yeah.
talking about that. But then yeah, just like things are being forced down people's throats, not just the
Oh
face
my
hugger,
gosh.
but also when Ash attacks Ripley, he's trying to shove something into her throat. Uh, just being
That scene.
impregnated. That I agree. That I almost think that's the
Well,
scariest part of the movie is when
Yeah.
Ash attacks Ripley.
well,
I
and
was
it
wondering
looks
what was
like a
going on there.
porno mag.
Was it? Oh my
It
god.
was,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
And
like
But that's
Ash
another layer.
starts tweaking
oh,
out, it's I mean, that was
Yep.
a great moment when she's on the terminal and finds out about Directive 937 or whatever it is that
Yep.
the crew is expendable and he's right behind her and
Yeah,
then
he
she
just
tries to
pops
run
in.
away and then it's a different kind of horror movie where he's like closing the automated
So
doors to
creepy.
trap her in, and then he starts acting inhuman in a
Hmm.
weird way, and it's almost like he's stressed out because his plan isn't going well. He's like sweating
The
synthetic
milk or
sweat.
whatever.
Short
Yeah.
Yeah.
circuiting.
He's like free. It's not like efficient Terminator. It's tweaked out Terminator or
Yeah.
something. And the way he tries to shove the thing down her throat, the magazine, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? That's so
Yep.
weird.
I mean, it feels like it is very reminiscent of sexual violence. Like
Yeah.
it's he rolls up the magazine and that's arguably, a phallic shape and he's shoving
Hmm.
it into her mouth. So there's that aspect of it. This, you know, rape
Hmm.
visual, and then on top of that, there's the symbolically silencing her. He's trying to shut her up because she just found out the truth about the
Yeah.
coming. Like there's so
Yep.
many layers to it, but the look on his face while he's doing it, like that was the most disturbing part of the movie to me. It
Mm.
Yeah.
just feels so, and I don't know if it's because of, without going into current events, if it's because of the way things are going right now, if I'm more sensitive to it. But watching it this time around, I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And I
Hmm.
think that visceral discomfort is what we're supposed to be feeling
Right.
in that moment. And, maybe it's as simple as him trying to imitate this face hugger, this fascinating specimen that he's found.
That's a good
But,
point. Yeah.
like, it's like, but there's still this kind of impregnation
Violation. Yeah.
Yeah.
aspect. Yeah.
And it almost feels like he doesn't know what he's wants to do. It's like he's got this like
Yeah.
impulse to do something to her, which I think also plays into the like weird sexual
Yeah.
assault kind of portion of it. And the
It's
fact that she's tossed onto what,
dehumanizing.
yeah. And I think he might be like trying to do something that can kill her without it being obvious how it happened. But
Oh,
yeah, the fact that she's tossed onto what looks like a bunk and she's surrounded by porno images, and then he's using a
mhm.
pornographic magazine to attack her, and
I
he
didn't
just
even notice it was
Yep.
suddenly,
porn.
yeah, he just
Yep.
suddenly changes, and you're like, this whole time he's been a nice guy, in quotes, I guess,
Yeah.
questionably nice guy, and just suddenly something changes when he's alone with her, and
Yeah.
yeah, all of
Yeah.
it's so uncomfortable. And I remember that just being the thing when I was younger, being like, I understand the alien thing, I don't
Yeah. It's like,
understand
this is
this.
weird.
Yeah,
But
yep,
because
Yeah.
like the fact that it's a porn magazine
yeah,
just add another
yep,
layer
all the
to it,
layers.
especially about how, you talk about how in this movie in particular, we don't see, a lot of Sigourney from the male gaze, but
Hmm.
this is like shoving it down her throat. You know what I mean? Like
Yep,
it seems very intentional.
yeah,
And
agreed.
I still don't quite know what to make of it. Like I feel like I could write a English paper just all over the
Just on
place
that scene, yeah.
about it.
Well, another little thing that confused me is prior to that fight starting to happen, Ripley's nose starts bleeding as well.
Oh yeah.
So her nose is bleeding and he's like dripping milk. And I don't know if it's both of them being stressed and like they're
Yeah.
leaking their versions of things.
Yeah.
Because I rewound it because I was like, oh, did I miss him like hit her or something? But her nose just starts bleeding, so it seems like maybe it's a stress reaction and ugh,
A
yeah.
layoff that cocaine.
So, do you think that they should have done it differently, or do you think it was done to the right effect, even though it was disturbing?
I mean, I think it was to the right effect, and I think it's one of the reasons this movie is like stuck in my mind
Hmm.
and has forced me to kind of think over what was being shown there. And I think it goes with the themes of just the weird sexual undertones in this whole movie.
Hmm.
So, like, it would have been weird if he, like, I guess stabbing's also sort of like a penetration, but if he had just, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, been punching her or something, like, that wouldn't have felt like it fit in the movie. So,
What do you
Not
think
to say,
there?
and I think it fit. I mean, I don't know what the bigger message would be that they were trying to portray, really, if but I can make an argument of how the movie as a whole kind of shows you how systems of power essentially dehumanize women, and Ripley's character is somebody that we can see that through, and how Ash specifically, targets her while, the sexual connotation and the silencing of her. I appreciate that it's in there. I think it adds to Ripley's character, and we kind of see her rejecting victimhood in a way,
Mhm.
and she becomes like the ultimate survivor. So I think that they used it to, good effect. I don't
Mhm.
think it was, gratuitous or a misstep in any way.
Mhm.
It, I guess it was probably a good thing that what's his name, Parker, immediately came in and whacked the guy's head off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which that was also scary because Parker is
Yeah.
like this big guy and he grabs him and you're
Hmm.
suddenly like, whoa, he can't move that little guy.
Yep,
Mhm.
that was
But
scary.
also, how well are they building these androids that like one clunk to the head sends them into these like spinning,
Yeah.
furious like
Yeah.
I remember
malfunctions?
that really stood out to me too, all that gross white liquid
Oh, it
Yeah.
was nasty
and the
looking.
way his voice sounded
Yep.
afterwards and all that.
Yeah.
I
It's
went
gross.
back and looked at the original trailer for the movie because I was really curious how much of the alien got shown. And it's really nothing, but one of the scenes they do show is Ash spinning around like that. So I feel like initially the trailer might have been giving the impression that like the people have been infected with something. So
Mm,
I'd be
Mhm.
really curious to know what it was like to watch this for the first time and like did people know how big the alien was going to get? Because you get the face hugger and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that could be the
that's
alien.
true.
And then that little thing bursts out and you're like, ah, and it sheds, but that's still small. And then the next
Hmm.
thing you know, the thing's bigger than a person. Like
Yeah.
that must have been so
Huge.
scary and interesting.
I remember feeling like that's dumb, but now watching it now, I the way I make sense of it is that's why the bodies are missing, because
Yep.
the alien devours the bodies
Yep.
and uses it to quickly, because it's so evolved, create its own body. But there's a director's cut where the first guy who gets killed,
Kane.
is it
Oh no,
Kane?
Dallas.
Is it
Oh,
Dallas? I thought it was the guy who seemed to be the owner of the cat, the engineer guy. I don't know which
Brett?
one it is, but
same.
one of them
Yes.
ends up, they find him in a cocoon begging to be
Yeah.
killed.
Oh, yeah.
But
But I
Oh
think the
gosh.
idea they were going for with that is that the cocoons would slowly turn into the eggs.
hmm
Hmm.
So I'm kind of glad they scrapped that and eventually went with what happens in Aliens because it just opens it up to more. This would have shown like a
Yeah.
full life cycle, but
hmm
like, eh.
Well, and it's kind of nice to have the mystery
Yes.
still,
Yes.
because in the whole, I mean, the whole movie functions on so many levels, which is another reason why I love it. Like just the idea of losing bodily autonomy,
Hmm.
and the idea of an invasion. You have the invasion in the sense of the alien coming onto the ship and attacking everyone, but you've got, the face hugger and essentially, you know, impregnating Kane, and
Ugh.
all of these other, just the body horror in this
Yeah.
seems.
Yeah.
And I
When you've
usually
like,
hate body horror.
Yeah. Like, what's his name? Cronenberg. I can't watch
Oh,
his
yeah,
movies.
yeah, me
But
too.
I
yeah, the face hunger, especially, I just feel kind of suffocated when I see
yeah.
that. Like,
And knowing
I
that
want to
they're
take a few
sending
It's
breaths.
something down your
awful.
throat
Yeah. And
too,
it's
and
just like
Ugh.
very much a violation.
yeah. And then I
Very
It's
just
not
much
okay.
so.
imagine
It's
like,
not okay.
Yeah.
okay, the stance of this podcast is that is not okay.
Yeah. You
I
need
just
to go to
imagine that
HR, face
like
hugger.
I just imagine that like uncomfortable full feeling too, having that thing
Oh
like
gosh.
inside you and then the
Yeah,
bursting
he
out.
should have
True.
been like, I'm not hungry for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Well, I
Seriously.
something that I didn't know, and I feel like they always talk about the scene where it bursts out, and they're like, "Oh, nobody knew what was gonna happen. They did it in one take." What I was seeing
Mhm.
was that it was actually two takes, and what happened was the first time it didn't work, and that's why you get the like chest explodes and his shirt's just covered in blood. And that was a
Just so
mistake
much
the first
worse.
time. Yeah, it is. And they left it in, and then they did it a
Oh,
second time, and
yeah.
that's when it fully bursts out. And the crunch sound it
Ugh.
makes when it hits the chest, just like it does something inside me where I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, like it hurts and it feels gross,
Huh.
but like I'm so happy that they left that in because it made it so much more horrible to think
Yeah.
like it's not strong enough to just burst right out and kill you. It might take a couple of tries and
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I mean, I'm
Was
just
it there
thinking,
was
hello, my honey.
Yeah.
Hello, my baby.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
there was a there's a documentary about the oh crap. I'm
Oh no.
gonna
Let's see.
start
Got a
that
face
over.
hugger. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a documentary about the filming and the writing of the original Alien. And one tidbit from it that I find kind of hilarious is that Dan O'Bannon, the main writer, had Crohn's disease.
Hmm.
And that was one of the reasons why he envisioned the chest bursting because of the serious, intense pain he felt in his stomach
Oh,
and chest
Mm,
from his Crohn's disease. And I was like, that's kind of brilliant, actually.
yeah.
yeah.
Turn your
Like,
pain into art.
that's,
Yep.
yeah, fascinating, quite literally. But I love that there was so much improv involved in that scene. That's another Ridley Scott thing, just not telling anyone what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And the
Hmm.
fact that the woman who plays what's her
Lambert.
Lambert actually was surprised by the blood squirting in her face and tripped and fell
Oh
and
no.
ended up out of frame and got right back up and back in there.
Yeah.
Like it's so fun when
Hmm.
they get that
It
kind of
works out.
genuine reaction.
Was there
Yeah.
more improv? Because I swear when after the captain goes missing and they're all stressed out and trying to figure out what to do next, and the Parker, he keeps talking over Ripley, and she's like, "Shut
Mhm.
up! I'm trying to tell you what to do." I feel like that was Sigourney Weaver. Like, I'm trying to deliver my lines here, dude.
Yeah, and you keep
Yeah.
stepping on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I something in that conversation too that I've wondered is they're basically like, oh yeah, we went down and got his flamethrower. That's all that was left. And it's like you went down into the why did you go into the vents after that? And
Mhm.
clearly nothing happened, so it wasn't in the movie, but I feel like they mention a few times like Ripley and Parker saw Brett getting taken away at the beginning by the alien. We don't see that. So it also feels like there's just other things happening and we're just seeing like the scariest parts too.
Yeah, it's
All
true.
right. Should we go into our notes, or did anyone have any more points that you want to get
Let's
into?
see. Nothing crazy.
Guess a couple of these could be notes. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a controversial point that I
Mm.
want to bring up.
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm not sure the chest burster holds up. The
Mm.
whole action does, but the creature itself,
Yeah.
I think maybe they show it for slightly too long. It, I
This
think
is where
that's
Spaceballs is doing me a favor, because when you
yes.
think about
Hmm.
the one in Spaceballs, this one
Yeah,
looks way better.
and it makes sense
That's
though.
true.
Like the Spaceball ones has legs. So
Yeah.
this thing just sort of like gets dragged along a table. It doesn't like slither. It
Yeah.
it pops out and like really looks around at everybody, and you're like, is it? And the teeth are so like shiny. I don't know. I wish it were just like 2 seconds shorter or something like that, but not not the
It
worst.
is
I feel like
kind
they
of
got better.
comical,
Hmm.
like once, but the leading up to the actual bursting out of his
Oh yeah.
chest, it's terrifying. Like
Yes.
John Hurt does a great job of looking like he's in true agony, but it's true. Like I tend to agree when you don't see as much of the monster, it's scarier. And the
Hmm.
rest of the movie, once the alien, starts to grow, you don't ever really see too much of it. Like you talked about, it's split seconds of
Hmm.
screen time.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a little scarier if, like, we didn't focus on it that long.
I think even if it just fell off the table rather than like got pulled along, because then I'm like, well,
It's
the
true.
legs, how is it moving like that?
Yeah.
Like, and then it starts singing and it pulls out the
It's true.
top hat, and it's just like, guys, this is a weird thing to do in this movie.
Like the Dallas scene, the scene where Dallas died, that jump
Yes.
scare, that holds up.
In the
That-
vents, yes, I knew it was
Yes.
coming, and it still scared me, and that's
Still
what I love
terrifying.
about this.
But I think I agree with you on the chest bursting scene. It
I
may
swear-
have been because I was under the influence when I watched it last night. It was slightly funny, but
I was,
Aw.
yeah, I mean, this is so stupid, but I seriously was picturing the Spaceball one and thought, oh, this looks way better. So it held up for me.
Yep. So gotta watch
Fantastic.
Spaceballs first.
Yeah.
yeah,
Which Kara did. So
yeah, it worked out. It's like those.
let's just go. Yeah, we'll take turns doing shorter notes. So
Okay.
I don't know how to say his name, but Balaji Badejo played the alien. Wikipedia says he was a 26-year-old design student discovered in a bar by a member of the casting team, and Ridley Scott saw him 6 feet 10 inches, 7 feet inside the costume, and with a slender frame. So he thought, that's great. You could make it look like this weird alien with legs and arms that are too long. Create this illusion that a human being couldn't possibly be inside the costume.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, right. How much does this pay?
Yeah.
What else, Karen? Do you have any?
One thing, like one bit of trivia that I thought was kind of interesting, and it goes along with the idea of kind of upending and subverting these horror tropes that we get used to, is that Dallas's character was, intentionally written in order to get the audience to kind of try and see him as the main character and expect that, he was going to be around for a while, and
hence
then,
the top billing
just,
too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and then just kill him off. And I really enjoy that idea. And it also reminded me of, the fact that on Lost, Jack was originally supposed to die in the pilot and be played by Michael Keaton and like shock everyone. But I did not know that Harrison Ford had turned down the role of Dallas. And trying to picture Harrison Ford in that role.
Yeah.
And
that quick after Star Wars too.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like that was a good choice of his. But I guess my other notes are all related to subversion of typical horror tropes, and the idea that the writers were specifically seeking for the face hugger victim to be a man and kind of subvert the impregnation trope with women and the sexual assault imagery. That's just something I'll never get over. I think it's so clever, especially for a movie in 1979. I just love what they started.
Yeah, I was also keyed into the idea that Ripley is not portrayed as like the protagonist in this, and it's something that I've known as a fact, but because of years of the Alien franchise, that doesn't register for me. So I was trying to watch it in that way.
Yeah.
And Ripley, she's not shown in the cryo chamber opening sequence. So at the very beginning, you basically see everybody else's face. She's not one of them. She doesn't really get focused on with the camera till about the 20-minute point, and even then it's still brief. Then when they split up in groups to look for the chest burster, Dallas, Lambert, and Ash, who have seemed like the main characters, are one group, and then Ripley, Parker, and Brett, who kind of seem like the secondary characters, all go together. So it almost gives you the impression like, well, those three are going to be killed off. And then as the movie goes on, it's clearer and clearer that Ripley is starting to come to the front. And I just, it is done really well and surprising, because you don't know who's going to die when you do that.
Yes, I'm sure that's why they did that, because they want you to fear for everyone's life, so they don't want to telegraph who is going to live. And they even accept that they falsely telegraphed that it would be the captain. and he
Right.
dies. And so then you're left. It's just all part of the ethos of this movie to keep you guessing and wondering
Hmm.
all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Lambert lasts longer than I remember. I feel like I'm surprised by that every time I
Yeah,
watch this. In my
Yeah,
mind,
I
she's
it's
know.
like
true.
the first
She's
person who
such a
dies.
mess.
She's the second to last.
I like that so they all have their jobs and she's the navigator.
Hmm.
And when they first come out of sleep and they think they're home, right? And she's like, "Where's Earth?" And somebody's like, "You should be the one to know
Oh
that," or
yeah,
something.
that's
You're asking
funny.
me. It was written, as someone mentioned, by Dan O'Bannon, who also wrote and directed The Return of the Living Dead and
Oh.
co-wrote Total Recall, among others. He also worked on the graphics in Star Wars. And it was directed, of course, by Ridley Scott, who went on to do Blade Runner just a few years later. Thelma and Louise, I totally forgot he directed that.
Love that
Right?
movies.
I,
It's
I
just
I
Yes,
like that movie, but I like Ridley Scott. I didn't know that.
right.
And Gladiator, among many, many other movies. He returned to the
that's
Alien
right.
series for Prometheus in 2012, which I can't believe that's been freaking 13 years ago
I
already.
I
know.
And Alien
know.
Covenant in 2017.
Jeez, that's crazy.
To get Jones the cat to react fearfully to the alien, a German shepherd was placed in front of him with a
Oh my
screen between
God.
them so the cat wouldn't
Oh.
see it
Poor
at
cat.
first. The screen was then suddenly removed to make Jones stop and start
Oh.
hissing. So they did
I love
Well, it
harass the cat.
worked.
Yeah, they did.
And then
Poor
I like,
thing.
it's funny because the guy, I forget his name, but he's the cat hisses and then the alien kills the guy. And then they cut to the cat and he's got a really interesting look on his face.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you shouldn't have come down here, you idiot. Or I don't know
yeah,
what it
yeah.
is.
It's a very typical cat reaction of like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, like
That's
as long as I get fed later. And then even the alien doesn't attack the cat. It like leans
Yeah,
in on the
that's
carrier
true.
and it's like, no, we all understand as a universal species,
No,
don't
and it's
harm
an
the
orange cat.
cat. Yeah.
Like, don't mess with the orange cats.
Two predators
Oh my
here.
goodness,
Yeah.
it's true. Oh
I had
man,
So
a few other notes. Do you guys have anything
yeah, I've got a
else?
few things we could
it's
Go,
go
like
back and forth on.
random.
go for
Yeah.
it. Let's Randy, then Kara, then I'll
Well,
go.
so I one of the things that I think makes this movie really, really good is the sounds and the music. Something about this music, and if anything is even similar to this, like it pulls me into a theatrical feeling, but the score is so creepy. It's got like scratchy, high-pitched string sounds, but then also the like creepy, gentle flutes, and it like gives it this like claustrophobic feeling, but also expansive. Like you can kind of imagine this is what space sounds like. And there's actually a
Mhm.
recording of, I think, Saturn or Jupiter. And if you listen to that, it sounds kind of similar to this music, granted, not as melodic. Um,
It's cool.
but I was watching this with headphones on and I was picking up way more things than I noticed prior. There's a lot of whispering in the music and also animal sounds mixed in, like the sounds of mice. Um,
Ooh, that's
the
interesting.
yeah, the mother room when they go into it, it's got this like whoo, boom, boom sound that's very similar to like the sound you'd play for a baby to sort of represent like being in the womb, the sound of like a heartbeat, but like
Mm.
a very like up near the right side of your head in your mother's chest. I don't know, and just when you're in a stomach, how it
Yeah,
sounds. Um,
it's true.
and yeah, just like that, and all of the sound effects are like screechy and just they jump out at you as much as like the visuals do, and it just does such a good job of really like immersing you into it and feeling off the whole time.
True. Well, and the fact that there's no dialogue at all for the first like 5 to 6 minutes or
Yep.
so.
Or the last
That
like 20.
Yeah, like that's an intense way to start. I'm glad you said womb because it
Mhm.
reminded me of why I put womb to tomb in my
Oh.
notes. So I know I've already said the word impregnate a lot on this podcast, but I think,
Listeners, if
yeah.
you have tallied them up to this point, if you send in the correct number, you'll win a
You get
prize.
impregnated. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Like, no, we take it back. We take it back. But
That's a joke.
I think it's interesting. Like that theme really is carried out throughout the entire movie because, the ship that they're on acts as, kind of this symbolic womb. We see all of them like kind of in this, you know,
And their
what's the appropriate thank
cryostasis.
you. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, what is the word? And it's, keeping them alive, making sure that their bodies are still functioning and they're woken up. And it's also their tomb ultimately when
Hmm.
they bring this creature on board. And I like how you pointed out that there are mice sounds,
Hmm.
which is fascinating with the whole idea of the cat and mouse and
Yeah. Yep.
all of that. But the claustrophobia in general, both when I think of a womb, like it's still claustrophobic if even though it's supposed to be a life source. And I feel the same way when I think of a tomb, that
Yep.
enclosed space. And it's just
Ugh. Ugh.
brilliant
Yep.
and creepy.
Hold on, they're being loud again. I'm sorry. I gotta go.
Okay. It's all right.
Naughty.
Ah,
I was
gonna
wondering
have
why the hell I wrote that.
Womb to Tomb. It's the
Yeah, I was
new
like,
Jet
what
Li
was I
movie you're
trying?
producing.
I was like, what the hell was I trying to say?
I'm glad we were able to
Useless.
unlock that.
Yep, I was
I
like,
know.
that's good.
I feel like I put notes like that. Like this one, I feel like's obvious, but I just wrote in all caps, "What is the milk?"
That's funny. It's true. It is funny that like the one time I feel like he reaches for food, it's cereal.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, are they fucking with us?
I did
Like, is
not
that a
catch it.
wink?
That's great. Yeah.
It was cracking me up. That has to be intentional.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, or it's just subconscious. Look
Um,
nasty.
and just a couple random things. Ripley says she's trying to reach Antarctic traffic control.
Hmm.
I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. I guess there's a
Yeah.
space traffic control
Yep.
hole for some reason. Um, the the movie reminded me of this game called Soma that I played a while back.
Hmm.
It's a really great, scary sci-fi game with like slow burn tension, and it also has this kind of blue collar sci-fi aesthetic. It's a really good one
Mm.
if anybody's looking for a good scary
It's
game.
fun.
But the other scary game that you should totally play before that is Alien Isolation, which is considered one
Yes.
of the scariest games ever from what I've heard. I've never actually played it, but
I've watched.
it's got that same 70s aesthetic to it, and it's
Hmm.
very much about like sneaking around trying not to get caught by the alien and stuff.
Ugh. Ugh.
Gosh.
So, yeah, hiding in things. And,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then my last note is just I think that I thought the cat might be a shapeshifter.
Oh.
And
Like
I
that.
don't know why. I guess or that that the alien might have turned into a cat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that definitely is a possibility. It was about that size.
Be
At
cool.
first. What else?
I think I'd prefer that.
Yeah, the shape-shifting cat.
Yeah.
So like you were saying earlier, I'm also like fascinated by the older imaginings of future technology and how sometimes they like over-engineer things for movies. So like Ash's spinny chair, it's all mechanical. You like
Yeah.
press a dial, it's like a ball bearing would also work. And then like
Right.
all of their monitors are not like ergonomically placed, so they're always like craning their necks to look up, and like they have a full
Yep.
body x-ray machine, but the images are just too crummy to like see what it is. So but the one that I thought was funny is Mother is basically Chat GPT,
Yeah.
and every time they have a random question, they're like run to Mother and ask it. So I decided I was gonna ask the questions that Ripley asked. So I think unfortunately I tipped it off because I referred to it as Mother. I said,
Ah.
Mother, request evaluation of current procedures to terminate the alien. Request acknowledged. Initiating evaluation of current procedures to terminate extraterrestrial organism. And then it gave
Mm.
me a bunch of things. It says it needs to know how many crew members are remaining, what's our weaponry access.
My
Um,
gosh.
Yep, it gave me all this, and then it said at the end, Special Order 937 reminder, Priority 1, ensure return of organism for analysis. All other
Hmm.
considerations secondary, crew expendable.
that's
So
that's
I
great.
did then
That's
ask,
funny.
request options for possible procedure. And it gave me a list that says you could isolate and inject it, use fire or heat. And then it's got like breakdowns of ways you could do it underneath self-destruct sequence, lure it to the shuttle and evacuate alone. Um, and then at
That's
the very
funny.
end, I asked the final question as well. And I said, what are my chances? It broke it down by probability. It gave me a chart. So if I isolated it and ejected it, I have a success rate of 32% and a survival rate of 26%. The highest percentage is 38, and that's if I lure it to the shuttle and eject it. Um,
Huh.
and then
That's a
at
pretty
the
high. That's
end,
pretty high.
yeah, it's not too bad. It said projected survival probability as a solo operator is less than 17%. And then it finished it off by saying, a note, if you're asking what are my chances, you have my sympathies.
My gosh.
So it also threatened.
That's crazy. You should call it Daddy next time and see if that
See if
changes
it
Oh
the
no.
changes.
Oh
answers.
Yeah.
God. I feel like the answers would be real
They're going to
weird.
be a lot
Daddy.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, what are my chances, Daddy?
That's for Wax Episodic After
Yep.
Dark.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, have you waxed?
oh God. That's funny.
Did you have anything else, Kara?
I mean, the only other note that I had, and I'm kind of curious for anybody listening that was maybe a little bit older when Alien first came out, because we've talked about this, I'm a true crime nerd.
Mhm.
And right before, like during this time in the second half of the 70s, is kind of when the public obsession and awareness of serial killers started to spike. And the term was actually coined by Robert Ressler with the FBI in around 1974. And I did a paper at one point about how you see the public's fascination with serial killers start to influence the horror genre. And it's just fascinating to me to think about how it could have influenced public perception of and reception of this movie, where the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy, like Son of Sam, John Wayne Gacy were all around this time and were becoming more popular. And you think about, being trapped with a merciless, intelligent killer. It
Mhm.
it's one of those brain worms that sticks with me. But I'm curious if anybody has anything to add to that who was around when it came out, because I don't know. It just seems like the culture was primed for this type of horror and it took
Mm.
off.
Yeah, the senseless, like, you don't know the killer. They're
Mhm.
just going for anybody who's just in their vicinity.
It's terrifying.
Yep.
Well, and the idea of these hidden predators, you
Hmm.
never know what could be lurking. I don't know.
Which is also,
Everything else.
I feel like this movie is a good example of like, get to know your work environment. So like when you go to reach for something, you're not surprised that there's a 7-foot alien in the shelf right above you.
Yeah,
Put your
that'd be
phone down
helpful.
for a minute, look
Oh
around.
gosh. It's funny if it was like modern day, or right now, everybody's just scrolling, looking at TikToks and don't even notice the
Yeah.
alien.
Or that.
In the cubicle next door.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, should we move on?
Sure.
I
Okay.
think that's everything.
All right, we're back and it's time for some transmissions, some listener transmissions. Should we answer them or hit the hyperdrive and get the hell out of here?
Some of these might be warnings.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, how about Kara, then Randy, then me?
So first up, are we doing first and last names, or do you just do first names?
I always do first and last, and I haven't had anybody complain. And
Okay.
sometimes people will ask me not to say their
Edit.
last name, and that I won't. Yeah.
Okay. So first up is from our friend Alma Contreras. She said she was responding to Wendy Ann and said, "Oh my God, I was about 13 when I watched it, thanks to VHS. Scared the ish out of me. That chest bursting scene lives rent free in the depths of my traumatized psyche. LOL." Yeah, that'll do it, especially at
Yes.
13.
Kat Johnson says, Alien is classic. A brutal and imaginative portrayal of what alien life could be like and how threatening it could be to humankind. What a beautiful, horrible creature. Honestly, the 1993 movie Fire in the Sky frightened me just as much. Yeah, both very terrifying alien on a ship
I
movies.
can't remember if I saw that. Did someone get like abducted or something?
Yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of like creepy probing and like
Yeah.
Oh,
Was that
gosh.
D.B. Sweeney?
yes,
I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
Probing.
creepy one. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of Cartman.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Carlos Frederick says, I remember seeing it in the theater when it initially came out. It was just so different from any other space flicks I had seen at the time. It definitely made you feel that isolation. I'm sure the series has its spin on how they will present our friends, the Xenos.
Yeah, as our friends.
Yeah, totally. Wendy Ann said, "My first experience with the original movie was when I was in a school play and went to the wrap party. The dad of the house who hosted the party wheeled out a movie screen, gave no warnings of what we were about to see, and played the entire chest bursting scene. I was 11. Oh my God. I think I was equally traumatized and fascinated. The movie still holds up. It's the textbook movie for just giving us what we need to let our imagination scare the hell out of us." Agreed.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, that's crazy
My
because
gosh.
listeners are writing in about how young they were, and yet we were both younger. Kara, how
Yeah,
old were
that's
you, Andy? Do
crazy.
you remember?
Probably also younger. The only thing I
Wow.
was not allowed to watch as a child was The Simpsons, but I
Me
owned
too.
Yeah.
all of the
We used
Friday
to,
the 13th.
like, I'd
Yeah.
go to my friend Tim's place. This was in high school, and we
Man.
watched movies like Evil Dead and
Yep.
Reanimator
Uh-huh.
and Lost Boys. And then one time we put Eddie Murphy Delirious on, and Dad came running down the stairs. You turned that crap off.
Oh my
What
gosh.
is it? And what is that disconnect with parents? You put on something wholesome where
Well, it's
somebody's
like
head's getting cut off.
Yeah, and then
obscenity
eating someone
and
out.
sexuality is
Yeah.
like the no-go, but violence,
Yep.
fine.
Yep,
Uh,
that's exactly
Although
right.
I say that, and my parents were very much, well, if you watch it with us and we can talk through it, then you
Mm.
can watch what you want. And so that is how I ended up watching Animal House and American Pie with my
oh
parents,
no.
which was horrifying. But I
My
was like, oh,
mom
I
let
see
me
why you
watch
do this now.
anything.
That makes sense.
Jaws, Alien.
And
Then I watched Phantasm, and I was just
that movie freaked me out.
seriously fucked up from that. And then she finally was like, "Oh, you're wanting you keep wanting to come sleep in our bed every night. Maybe I should stop." So then
Yeah.
at some point she cut it off, and I never watched another horror movie until I was in high school for like
That's
10
so
years.
funny.
Smart.
All right, we have a few calls. Here's Steve Brown.
Hello, Podcastica. This
Whoops.
is me for the
Let me start that over.
movie Alien. Hello, Podcastica. This is Steve, and this is going to be
Hello,
for
Steve.
the movie Alien. I'm not going to do a live, Steve. It's been a few months since I watched it. I watch them every year or so. About once a year, I watch all the Alien movies. I have the quadrilogy, which has all the different versions on it, and I love watching the director's cuts of these movies. But Alien, especially, it took a long time because I think Aliens was actually the first one that I saw in theater. And then after that, my friends probably had to tell me the story of Alien because at that time I wasn't watching those kind of movies as a young kid and teenager. And but since then, I've obviously caught up with watching all the movies now and watching Alien a number of times, and Tom Skerritt is great, but Sigourney Weaver as Ripley she established herself in that movie. I mean, it was she starts out as this weak kind of not weak, but a strong woman leader, but who ends up becoming this warrior woman. That's just great that we see in later movies and at the end when she blasts the alien out of the airlock. So, I can't wait to listen to you guys talk about this one. And I'm going to watch it again here shortly and watch them all. And I can't wait for the TV show Alien Earth to come out and to hear your coverage of it. So I'll talk to you later.
Sweet.
Excellent. I do love starting with forgive me, it's been 1 month since I've watched it.
Like a confession.
And he caught himself, but really she's great throughout as far as being a capable person. In fact, she's the sole voice of reason pretty much through the whole movie. And while everyone else is freaking out or being stupid, she's being smart the whole time.
Yeah, she's rising to like a brand new occasion that nobody else had the skills to do.
Here's Jonathan Bookalil.
Greetings, Randy, Cara, and Jason. Well, I've been holding off on the Alien rewatch for a few years now, but there's nothing like a Podcastica podcast to give me a reason to watch something. So I settled in last night, and it's crazy to think that this was released only 2 years after Star Wars. It feels way more up to date, even dirtier and darker than anything before. The ship designs were fantastic. The casual smoking was exhilarating, even though they probably can't open a window to air it out. They imagined a future where useless blinking lights and switches were everywhere, and it looked awesome. But I wondered if it would give me the same chills, and sure enough, I was holding my breath during the dinner party scene and horrified when Ash started leaking fluid and attacked Ripley. His death scene was one of the all-time best. There were so many genre-defining moments, even the handheld camera running down the darkened hallway. And when the alien opens its mouth and the toothed tongue came out, that had me on the edge of my seat every time. And with no CGI, every pipe, every light, every switch, every hose was intentional. Nothing was generated. You could feel the space and the isolation, and everything felt real and claustrophobic. And to my surprise, I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I'm not sure what the new series holds, but I'm certainly going to enjoy an Alien rewatch. Looking forward to the podcast and everything Alien related.
That was nice.
Excellent. Yes. There was something in there.
The smoking.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I also love all of the unnecessarily blinking lights. Inside Mother, I kept pausing it because I was like, maybe these represent like issues, but the glass over them just has some numbers. So it's so good.
It's very Star Trek-ian, I would say.
Yeah.
In its own way. All right, one more call from Rennie, who I know is a huge fan of this series.
Oh, excellent.
So I actually had the experience of seeing Alien in 1979 in its original theatrical release, just 2 years after Star Wars had come out. And I had been very excited by Star Wars because Princess Leia actually did some work towards saving herself instead of just waiting around to be rescued, as was typical of women in science fiction and action films up to that point. And then Ripley. So as a young person born female, seeing Ripley portrayed as smart, able to keep her calm in scary situations, and physically brave, and being the one who defeats the alien, it was transformational. I can't overstate how important it was to me to have Ripley, who would soon be joined. She herself would become even more heroic in Aliens, and then would be joined by Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise. And just nothing like that had existed before. I forgot to mention that I was really scared of going to see the film because that in space no one can hear you scream, and the graphic of the egg that was in the trailers were really terrifying, and I had no idea what I was going to be seeing. I had no foreknowledge of the chest burster scene, and it was really hard to sit through that first time. For many years, aliens were so terrifying to me. My brother had a poster, a door-sized poster of an alien bursting through the door that he put on the inside of his bedroom door. I would never have done that. It would have given me such nightmares. I love this franchise. I'm really glad that you're covering it. I'm excited about the series coming out, but I'm also worried about it. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, great. Can't help but be a little worried, but
I know.
Feeling pretty good though. Feeling pretty good.
I feel like Romulus was a good, like, we're still able to do this now.
Yeah,
so
it's a good sign.
Holly, but I'm so glad that Rennie got a chance to call in, and I'm hoping that she can come and join us for one of the Alien Earth
for sure.
Well, if it helps, that egg imagery in the trailer is an actual egg on top of a tray of uncut brownies, and it's just a very macro lens shot of it, so it's not as scary when you know it's just baking supplies.
Yeah. That's what I have to do. Like when I was growing up, especially if a movie scared me, I just had to find behind the scenes footage, and that would help.
Yeah, just see
incredibly helpful
monster with his mask off or something like that.
Yeah,
joking around.
Yeah,
smoking a cigarette. Okay, now before we wrap, I did want to talk just a little bit about Alien Earth. It's, I'm a person who, when I'm really know I'm going to want to watch something, I don't want to learn that much about it beforehand. Same. I don't watch the trailers. I haven't even seen the trailer for Alien Earth. But I do know a little bit, just enough to kind of whet my appetite a little bit more. And that's what I'm going to go over here. But if you are like me or even more like that, and you don't want to hear anything spoilery at all, you should probably just stop listening right now. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you for the next one.
It was fun. See you
no,
guys.
But you guys are going to have to hear this. But so hopefully you have an idea. I really don't know much. I know a little bit, and I'm just going to talk about what I know about it. So it's on Earth. I know that, right? I think so anyway.
Is that how you pronounce it? It's Earth?
That's how they get you.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to see an alien thing on Earth.
Yes.
Because Aliens versus Predator doesn't count.
And they accidentally promised it with Alien 3 before they finished writing the movie. So
I
expected it, and it just has not happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I was expecting it. I think it takes place a couple years before the first movie that we just saw. We just talked about. Which is weird, because then does that mean that whatever happens on Earth just isn't public? Because Ripley and her crew don't know about the aliens, but they've probably been in space for a couple of years, and I don't know how much communication they can get that far out.
And then she's in hyperspace or
hypersleep
or whatever. For 50 years after.
Right. So that might be why.
Well, maybe they've sent multiple ships to multiple places to pick up an alien.
It's true.
It's arrived.
But yeah, it's like that. I mean, I'm just wondering what's going to happen now. But it's like, okay, you sent someone out to get the alien, and then they're on Earth for some reason. What happened?
Yeah, it's like you already have aliens.
Yeah. So that I mean, I'm just intrigued. Other things I know, it's an 8-episode season. The first 2 episodes drop Tuesday, August 12th, and then the next 7 weekly after that. It has Timothy Oliphant in it, who I think is awesome, and I also went to high school with, although we didn't know each other because he was a senior when I was a freshman.
That's awesome.
I love him.
He had a good reputation, though. He just seemed like a really good guy.
Nice.
And what else? Noah Hawley, how will he impact it? He's really good at pacing, which is a big thing in Alien, and rising tension. Kind of mentioned some of this before. Legion was really scary at points. Jeff Russo does the music. He works with Noah Hawley. He did music for Legion and Fargo and a bunch of other shows, and he's really good.
Yeah, that's great. The music in Legion is awesome.
Yeah. If this is a little bit more revealing, and I kind of touched on it before, but if you're a big fan of the entire Alien franchise and you know all the movies, in last year, Noah Hawley talked on this podcast, KCRW's The Business Podcast, and they asked if he's going to be using the backstory of the more recent Alien movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And he said, Ridley and I have talked about this and many, many elements of the show. For me and for a lot of people, this, quote, perfect life form, as it was described in the first film, is the product of millions of years of evolution that created this creature that may have existed for 1 million years out there in space. The idea that on some level it was a bioweapon created half an hour ago, that's just inherently less useful to me. And in terms of the mythology, what's scary about this monster is that when you look at those first 2 movies, you have this retro-futuristic technology. You have giant computer monitors, these weird keyboards. You have to make a choice. Am I doing that? Because in the prequels, Ridley made the technology thousands of years more advanced than the technology of Alien, which is supposed to take place in those movies' future. There's something about that doesn't really compute for me. I prefer the retro futurism of the first 2 films, and so that's the choice I've made. There's no holograms. The convenience of that beautiful Apple Store technology is not available to me. In that same interview, he also said, the thing with Alien is that it's not just a great monster movie, it's the story of humanity trapped between its primordial parasitic past and its AI future, and they're both trying to kill us. So there's nowhere to go. It's really a story of, does humanity deserve to survive? Does humanity's arrogance in thinking that we're no longer food, and its arrogance in creating these AI beings who we think will do what we tell them, but ultimately might lose their mind? Is there a way out? So it's going to be a real feel-good kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you've seen...
uplifting.
Yep.
So if you've seen and remember Prometheus and Alien Covenant in particular, you know that this series is going to ignore the developments in those movies. And, they kind of retcon the origins of the xenomorphs. So I won't go into details.
It just seems like that would be so much backstory to have to work into something too, and so many extra rules to dodge. And
but really, he just doesn't want it to be that way. And I'm okay with that. I don't know about you guys, but
I like that.
It sounds promising. Like, just everything that I hear so far, I'm like, okay, this sounds good. I like the way he's approaching it. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Right. That's a good way to be.
I feel like I'm already putting plots together in my mind.
I know, like, what they can do.
Tie together, yeah.
So everything I just said is why we decided to only cover the first 2 movies before the series starts, and we'll be covering Aliens next month. So get ready for that. All right, that is our show, episode 1. Thank you so much for listening to everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Kara and Randy. Next up, Aliens.
Woo. If you want to write in or leave us a voice message about it, you can find all our contact information at waxepisodic.com.
And while you're there, please check out our other podcasts.
Yeah, check out Still Slaying a Buffyverse podcast, which is a very meticulously and lovingly done podcast that's super fun and full of heart and details. And if you like Buffy, you're missing out if you haven't heard that one.
Yep. We love it.
And the other one that you should check out that has at least as much heart is Welcome to the Apocalypse.
Yes,
it also has
so much fun.
Ton of amazing sound editing.
Yes. That somebody maybe spends too much time on.
And I can't remember, we talked about that in the intro, but not in this one. So that's improv apocalyptic podcast.
Yeah, it's 3 of us improvising our way through a zombie apocalypse and some other apocalypses, and a couple other people have guested on that. Yeah, apocalypse.
Yeah, it works. Yep, there's something for everyone.
Some xenomorphs may show up. Who knows? Anything can happen.
And this episode is made possible by Patreon supporters like Steve Brown, who pledged their support at patreon.com/Jason Kabassi. So thank you so much to Steve. There's a bunch of great perks on there, like ad-free episodes of this podcast and all the other ones I'm on. And I think we're going to be covering the upcoming HBO series Welcome to Derry, based on Stephen King's It.
So excited.
Exclusively on Patreon. That I'm going to try that out. We'll cover a series just on Patreon. It'll be on this podcast, but only people who sign up to Patreon can get it.
Awesome.
Looking forward
all
to
the
that
other
one.
perks related to Patreon, though, are great. There's an awesome community in there, and we're always chatting, and there's game nights, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
And you get to help me keep podcasting.
Yeah, and like that, if you're
also
if you're
good.
into that.
You're into that. All right, that is our show.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, in space, the podcast hosts can't hear you scream.
I like